You have joined me for 6 days of early years maths ideas and support, as you can see, and this is day one. So there's a few quick messages to take you through so you know what to expect, and also you are reassured about any workload involved. The simple message is there is no workload. Everything I'm going to share with you over the next 6 days, you can use in your planning straight away. So I am going to make your life easier. I am going to give you more time to yourself. And not only that, you are going to love everything I share with you. I promise. You will have a real injection of enthusiasm and new, fresh ways of thinking about early years maths. So let's head on in, and as you can see, be prepared to be inspired. Okay, you can hear me, so I thought I would pop a little picture on the screen so you can see me as well. Most of you will have seen lots of videos on my Facebook pages. So I have my Karen Wilding Education EYFS page, which you may have come in through that, and my main Facebook page that you definitely need to be part of is called Teaching Early Years Maths 3 to 5, and it has an exclamation mark after the 5, so make sure you put that in as well. Do come and join us, because that is where I post webinars, updates and information, and it's only ever positive things that will really help you focus on what matters most. So just thought I'd tell you a little bit about who I am. Like many of you, my life changed significantly when COVID-19 came along, and I set up this online training site. But before COVID-19, I was spending all of my time traveling around the UK and around the world, spent a lot of time in the Middle East and Europe, but also further afield. And I work with early years and primary maths teachers, practitioners, senior leaders, but I have an incredible passion for 3 to 5-year-olds and their learning, and of course, therefore, you, the people who support them. So when COVID-19 came along, I thought I'm going to devote all my attention in these 2 months so far to setting up and running training for those of you working with 3 to 5-year-olds. My background is as a teacher. I've taught early years and then right up to year 6, and that gives me such a great insight into why what you do in early years is so incredibly important. It's of course important for the age group your children are now, but having worked all the way through the school and having been a senior leader and an advisor, I know that when you have the tools you need to do your job well, the impact you can have on and will have on their performance and progress in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 and beyond is incredible. You do need the right tools though in your toolbox, and very few of us have been given those yet. I am delighted to say you will meet some of those this week, and you will have opportunities to join me in learning more if you wish to after that. I have written a book. I always laugh because I'll just show you the picture here. It was for Dorling Kindersley, who are also Penguin Books now. And the reason I'm laughing is I get paid nothing when you buy a copy. I was paid initially to write it, a very interesting experience. I'm very proud of the book overall. But I just rely on your lovely Amazon reviews if you like it. So have a look there. The reason I put this up here is because everything that I talk about is in this book. It has been changed a little bit because publishers tend to wade in and change authors' work. So when you get to know me, you probably will be able to spot the bits that maybe have been changed. But there's so much good stuff in there. It's basically everything I talk about in one place. So go and have a look. Another book, Mary Mayat, who many of you may have heard of. She is a conference speaker and an advisor, very, very highly thought of. And she wrote this book last year called The Curriculum. I know her through my work as a conference speaker, and she contacted me to say, I've put you in my book. And the things I'm going to share with you here, those of you who know me really well, I've got some people here that have been working with me for 8 or 9 weeks now during lockdown, and they know that one of my stock phrases is, what do you see and how do you see it? And that will make complete sense as we move through the training this week. And she has quoted my work on how important noticing is in maths in this book. So it's really amazing to have early years prioritized so highly in such a highly thought of author's book. So I thought it was worth mentioning. So as I said there, I set up an online training course and Facebook groups because of lockdown, and the last 2 months has been amazing. So I launched this course to begin with at the very beginning of lockdown, and I'm recording this today as many English schools, not necessarily the UK, are heading back to school tomorrow. So I'm hoping that by redoing the beginning of the course here, this is going to be really, really helpful and relevant to you, and is going to give you confidence, reassurance, and a safe place to come and learn. So much on offer. Let's have a look. Okay, I have mentioned this already, but this is not my phrase, but I use this all the time. I have it swimming around in my head constantly. Where focus goes, energy flows. So hold on to that phrase, because you know how often whatever is in your head is what gets your attention. And we really need to step in and control what's happening in our head when we are at times of stress. Teaching is never easy. It is full of challenges. But if you're watching this going back to school, at this changing time of COVID-19, and I don't like saying going back because many of you never went away, but you know what I mean, coping with the new version of back to school, you need to focus on the opportunities. If you choose to focus on all of the challenges, which are there, of course, you are going to wear yourself down so quickly, and you'll be feeling that already. So I am going to be focusing on the opportunities and giving you lots and lots of ideas and support for that. The best thing about being on this training by far is that you are in a worldwide, supportive, positive community. If you choose to check out this page every day, just for a minute or so, I'm posting stuff every day and sometimes multiple times a day at the moment, because so many people are engaging, because so many people are reaching out for help and support, and the payoff has been incredible. I have genuinely met some of the most inspirational, wonderful practitioners in the last couple of months than I have met in most of my career. So join us, stay with us, and learn with us. This relates back to that first bullet point. You can thrive in this community. You can thrive when you are learning. And we don't want you to just survive. We want you to be on the edge of what you know. So you can see here I've said, what don't you know don't know yet? Which kind of sounds really strange. But this idea, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't ask a question about it because you didn't know it. What we need to do is be constantly learning by listening, by reading, by sharing, and then we start to ask great questions and think, how didn't I know this? Or how have I got this far without knowing this? And make sure you don't feel guilty about anything you weren't doing when you couldn't possibly have done it. Put all of your emotional energy into using your new skills when you get them, and you will do incredible things. Again, I've alluded to this. You are going to come out even of these 6 days thinking very differently. If you Commit to these 6 days, which, as I say, is going to make your life easier, not harder, so you'd be mad not to. You are going to come out of here thinking differently, and you are going to come out thirsty for so much more. So I'll start with day 1 and we'll see where we go from here. Very, very important message, starting with the end in mind. If you have accessed my, I did some Facebook Lives last week, so that is the end of May, and the first thing I showed was a pyramid. And I've been doing this with my Momentum group. They are a group of graduates from my Teaching Essential Number Sense course, which you will have the opportunity to join. And they graduated, most of them, quite a few weeks ago now, and they've moved on to further training. But we were looking at what was the best thing we could do to get our heads in gear and really deal with the return to school, the next phase of what's happening to you all in a really positive and constructive way. This message is absolutely consistent in all business advice. If you've ever worked in another job apart from teaching, you will know that the advice that great leaders start with the end in mind. And this doesn't happen in school often enough. Because school is a very tough place to be, people start on a journey without deciding where it is they want to end up. Can you imagine going on a walk? So think of somewhere lovely that you like to go and walk, but you don't decide where you're going to end up. You don't decide where the end of the walk is. And particularly if you went on it with other people, so they all started the walk and off they went striding away, you'd all walk in different directions. And the amount of effort you put into your walking would be irrelevant because you haven't decided where your destination is. So you'd never be able to meet up. You wouldn't be able to get back on track when you get lost. Hopefully that makes sense, because that is literally what happens in so many schools. You just end up very tired and very lost. So this is the main resource, shall we call it, for day 1. I am going to put a downloadable version of this into today's section on the site that you're on, so you can download this or you can make your own. I have to say, I drew this freehand. If you've seen the video last week, you'll see this. And this version is from Mel, who's in my Momentum group, who actually emailed me this morning and said, look, I've made it like this. So I thought, great, asked her if we could put it into the presentation. So here's the kind of level of sharing and involvement and generosity illustrated, because I met Mel about 9 weeks ago at the beginning of lockdown, and she has turned up for everything and just given so much to the group and gained so much as a result. So let's have a little tour of what we've got here. We have got, you can see at the side here, Early Years Return to School Plan. As I say, if you're not happy with that phrase, of course, change it. It could be, moving on plan, whatever you want. And the whole idea of this pyramid is that the base of the pyramid matters the most. So this is our vital place. Vital coming from the Latin meaning to live and everything you need for life. So it's really important. So all of this matters every day. You can see it here, but this stuff is the lifeblood of what matters. This part here is important, but not as important as this part. And the top part here is important because everything in this pyramid is important, but it's not as important as this, and it's certainly not as important as this. And what I've written up the side here, you've got vital, you've got important, and I've said here achievable with 1 and 2, meaning you can only achieve with children, or children can only access the things in here if these needs are being met first. So pause the video at any point and think about what is going on this diagram before we start to use it. Okay, the next stage, you can see those little blue bullet points, and we've got 3 question marks. I want you to consider, without overthinking it, what do you absolutely want for your children? What do you feel in your heart is the most important thing for them as they come either back into your classroom or they've been there as the children of essential workers? and you are integrating them with other children coming back and lots of change. So again, pause the video and think, what words would you like to go in there? So I'm going to show you what the members of Momentum put in there in a moment, but I wanted to just have a look here at color coding this. Hopefully this will help us think about it in terms of green being vital, orange being important, and red being achievable when we've got those other two things in place. So the red implies that you have to stop and think. You can try and do it if you like, but you won't be successful. And I think this will give you an opportunity to reflect on why we're not successful sometimes when we're trying to do activities with children that we know are important, but we struggle to get the children to pay attention or to engage. So the first thing Momentum said was they want the children to be safe. The second thing was happy. And the third thing was included. So maybe have a think about what you've got on your list, what they've said there. There are no wrong answers, of course. There are answers you can justify why you feel like that. That's all that matters. So then we added in a couple more ideas. You can have as many or as few as you like. We felt very strongly that being active was essential. We felt very strongly that communicating was vital. And communication, of course, can be non-verbal. We know that we and children communicate a lot using our bodies, using our expressions, and these ways of communicating, we have to understand what children are saying, we have to read between the lines, and we have to help them also to use their words as their language develops to express themselves. So simply, all you need to do here is gather yourselves either some little bits of paper or some post-its, whatever you prefer. And I would do this on your own first, but the ultimate aim is that you do it with your staff as a really empowering activity to do together, to get all of us working together again, connecting again, and maybe doing it in a better way than you ever did it before. Because when people feel listened to and when their contributions are recognized, we can often see such radical change in people and see people switch on that maybe seemed a little switched off for whatever reason. I think of it like a little fire burning inside people, and we know everyone's flame burns quite low sometimes for good reasons, and we need, particularly at this time, to help people really turn that flame back up, because then we protect what we care about the most. So all you're going to do is take your little bits of paper. I would make this pyramid nice and big, maybe freehand draw it when you do it with your staff, because if you're physically filling this in together, it will be more enjoyable and much more interactive. So don't think about doing this neatly to begin with. That's not the point. So all you need to do is, I say, get your little post-its and you think about, for example here, something your children do every day, and you write it on the post-it or you write it on the piece of paper. So this says here, talking about what's happening today. So I know I did that with my children every day. We had a special timetable time for it, first thing in the morning, but we'd regularly come back to this because young children live in the moment and they don't remember what you've said, and things happen that mean that what you said that morning isn't relevant to them anymore. And we know that their whole sense of time is very, very different. And we need to be very sensitive to that, of course. So all I'm going to ask you to do there is, do you think that talking about what's happening today should go in the what matters most, the vital, stage 1? Do you think children need that in order to thrive? Do you think it's important, but it doesn't matter as much as the bottom section, so it would go in the middle section, the orange section as it was on my previous slide? Or do you think it's something that's important, but we can only talk about what's happening today if you get the other two sections in place first? It doesn't matter where you put that. What matters is your reasoning why. And you will find that staff won't agree about where to put these things. And I think it's so important, particularly if you're the leader, watch what your face is doing. You know, if you've done the Teaching Essential Number Sense training with me, I talk about a neutral face. Adults are just as prone to responding to your face pulling as anyone else, particularly if they respect you or a little bit fearful of you. In whatever it is, you know what it's like. You've been there yourself. Don't react. If you think it belongs in section 1 and someone puts it in section 3 and you pull a face, you are not saying it's okay to have your opinion. So really be careful. The only way to achieve this is to have an empty mind when you ask someone to do something. Otherwise, if you've got a response and you're trying to hide it, it's like Botox on your face starts kind of doing all sorts of strange things. Okay, I'll show you a few more examples and I'm sure you'll get the idea. Don't forget you can write any questions you want about this training on the page at any stage so I can answer them for you. So here's another one, interacting with nature. Where would you put that? And most importantly, why would you put it in that section? In section 1, section 2, or section 3? Subitizing games. Now, if you don't know what subitizing is, you're in for a treat, because not only will you be introduced to it this week, but I literally am the subitizing queen, as many of you I'm sure can respond to this. Super subitizing. Oh my goodness. If you think subitizing is about dice patterns, it isn't. If you think early years is about primarily teaching counting and writing numbers and saying numbers, it isn't. Subitizing is where it's at. Subitizing will get you fluency, confidence, calculators, and avoid masses of problems later in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. So, stick around. You've got so much to learn and so much to benefit from. So where would you put that? Obviously, if you don't know what it is, you don't know where to put it. But when you're playing your subitizing games, where in the pyramid would you put that? So we've got practicing number names in order. Again, pause the video at any point, have a think about these. Teaching reading. Exploring in the outdoors. Not necessarily the same as nature, because it depends on what your outdoor environment is like. Being read to. Just look at the difference between teaching someone to read and being read to. If you were on the webinar the other night, you know that that was mentioned, and it was also a subject of me talking about this last Monday on the live session. Singing, teaching phonics, so being taught phonics, and dancing. So they're just some ideas. I tried to not overthink it. What popped into my head, I would say with your staff, perhaps don't even show them the pyramid first. Do this yourself so you get a feel for this activity. But if you show them the pyramid, they will start to think about what they think belongs in different places, and they won't think of the activities in the same way. My advice to you would be, whether you do this over a Zoom session or whether you do it in person, definitely do both if you need to do it on Zoom first. But get them to write down lots of normal activities that children do all day, every day, and then begin to sort these, because you'll get a much more natural spread of things. And people will say things like eat their dinner, have their snack. And again, we have to think about, when you have your snack, what is that doing for you as a child to sit down near, at the moment, not next to, but near other children and adults that you care about? What does it do for you to eat? What does it do for you to make choices about what you're eating? You know, we really need to think about what the very simple activities our children are engaging in, what it's doing for them, particularly mental health wise. I think we're more aware than ever that at this stage of the lockdown, mental health issues are now going ahead of physical health issues. And we have absolutely got to prioritise that. So you've heard my enthusiasm, you've heard my whooping about subitizing. I can't wait to hear your reactions to this. And then you can join me tomorrow for day 2.